Hello dear students, welcome to English class. I hope all of you are doing well. Students, in this video, I shall be continuing with the explanation of the exercises of poem 2, that is The Wild Swans at Coole by William Butler Yeats. So, in the previous video, I explained till question number B, that means answer the following questions with reference to the context, and in this video, I will be proceeding with the exercise. So, let's start with life skills and values. In this, we have several questions. So, I will be explaining you all the questions one by one. So, let's start with the first question. So, as you can see on the screen, you have the first question. So, question number 1. What do the swans symbolize in the what do the swans symbolize in this poem? So, the swans symbolize eternal beauty. Eternal means everlasting, that which does not die. So, the swans symbolize eternal beauty in nature and love, while everything else around the poet seems to be dying and aging. The swans remained unchanged and full of life and passion. They are a proof that nature continues to regenerate even if living beings die. See, human beings or living beings, they are mortal, but please cut that line. See, man is mortal, but nature is immortal. We may come to an end, or we may what? We will definitely come to an end at one point of time, but the nature regenerates, the nature rejuvenates itself. So, nature is very beautiful. Aging or the signs of oldness is not seen in the nature. The nature remains beautiful forever. It is full of hope, life, passion and beauty. So, in this poem, the swans are the symbol of eternal beauty and love. So, I hope that question number 1 is clear to everybody. Now, let's move to question number 2. So, as you can see on the screen, we have question number 2. So, the question is, from the second to the last stanza, the poet describes the movement of the swans as they take off from the lake, fly in the air or swim in the water. Quote these lines and explain them. So, you have to quote the lines from second stanza to the last stanza, the lines that describes the movement of the swans in the lakes and how they take off or how they fly in the air. So, you have to quote the lines and you also have to explain the meaning of those lines. So, students, first I will start with the lines from the second stanza. So, these are the lines from the second stanza, as you can see here. So, the lines are: all suddenly mount and scatter wheeling in great broken rings upon the clamorous wings. So, here the movement of the swans taking off from the lake and their flight are described. It means that the swans fly up together from the lake and they scatter, means they spread in the air above in the giant circular movement. They make several patterns in the sky. As I have told you that the birds, the group of birds, they fly together and they make several patterns in the sky. It may be any pattern. So, here the swans are flying up high in the sky and they are making circular pattern, that means the pattern like wheels or the pattern like rings. So, I hope that the circular also the poet mentions about the wings that are flapping in the air and they are making a loud and noisy voice, or they are making a loud and noisy sound. So, I hope that the lines from the second stanza are clear. Now, let me move to the third stanza. So, the lines are: the first time on the shore, the bell beat of their wings above my head trod with a lighter tread. So, here the sound of the wings are compared to bells. The sound of the wings, they are compared to the bells. The poet says that when I first visited this shore, when I first visited this lake, then it felt that So in the second stanza, the poet is comparing the sound of the wings, the flutter of the wings of the swans with that of the bell. He is comparing the sound of both the wings, the swan's wings and the bell beat. So I hope that the second stanza, the lines from the second stanza is clear. Now let me move to the cut that line. So I hope that the lines from the third stanza is clear. So I hope that the lines from the third stanzas are clear. Now let me move to the fourth stanza. So, unwear it still, they paddle in the cold. So here the poet describes the swans moving gracefully with. So here the poet describes the swans moving gracefully without fatigue in a calm manner, in a very calm and composed manner, and they are full of energy, they are full of passion as they are flying. They are not at all tired, but they are determined not to give up hope. So I hope that the lines from the fourth stanza are clear to everybody. Now let's move to the last stanza, that means the fifth stanza. Now the last stanza. And now they drift on the still water. Drift means they are moving, they are carried away. So they are gradually, who are gradually? The swans. They are gradually moving their house, they are gradually moving their nest, and they are going to some other lakes. So the poet has described the movement of the swans. They are leaving this lake and they are going to some other lake, or the poet is saying that definitely in the future time will come, or time may come, that the swans will leave this place and they will go to some other lake, and the day may come that he may not witness the swans again. So I hope that question number second is clear to everybody. Now let's move to question number third. How has the poet contrasted the way his life has changed while that of the swans hasn't in 19 years? See, the poet recognizes that he has grown old and it is the twilight of his life. That means he is on the verge of his life. He has become old. He is not having energy. He is not agile. He is not flexible. His youth has left him. He is alone. He is sad. And his life has drastically changed in the 19 years. He is no longer energetic and youthful. His heart is sad. His heart is sore. Sore means sad. And he seems tired and without hope. His steps, he has to take heavy steps because he is not energetic, he is not flexible, he is not light. He has to make a lot of effort in order to walk. But earlier he used to walk very freely with lighter steps. But now he has grown old, so his life has changed. But on the other hand, swans are still full of life, noisy. They are still full of life and noise as before, and they live life without worrying. Also, the swans have each other companies. They live in group. They have their partners. So, and the partners are very faithful. So their life is full of passion and beauty, and their hearts have not grown old. So this is the contrast that the poet wants to show us, that the poet has grown old, he has grown old, but the swans have not grown old. They are still living their life with the same energy, with the same happiness, with the same passion. So I hope that this question is clear to everybody. Now let's move to question number 4th. So the question is, what does the poet wonder about the swans doing in the future? So the poet wonders that one day the swans will fly away from him and he will not be able to see them. He wonders where they will build their home. That means where they will go in which lake they will go, in which lake they will form their houses, and where they will build their homes, among which reeds. Reeds means the plants or the bushes that grows in the water. So he wonders, he asks a rhetorical question to the audience, that where the swans will build their homes, among which reeds or which lake's edge or pool, where in which lake they will go, in which lake they will go in the near future, and wherever they will go, they will be a source of delight for the people who will watch them, or the people who will see them, because they are so beautiful. So whosoever will see them, that person will be very happy, that person will be full of life and energy, because these swans, they are the source of passion, life and energy. So I hope that all the 4 questions are clear to everybody. Now students, we will move to the next section, that is vocabulary section. In this we have 2 questions, that is question number A and question number B. So let's start with question number A. So question number A is, identify the rhyme scheme in the following stanzas. So I have already explained you about the rhyme scheme. So we have 2 questions in this, and you have to identify the rhyme scheme of the stanzas. So let's see stanza first. So the lines are, as you can see on the screen also. So the lines are, he gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. So there are 4 lines, and you have to identify the rhyme scheme. So if I talk about the first line, then what we see? See, we generally notice the last word of the sentence. We only have to see the last word. If they are rhyming, then the same alphabet will be provided. If they are not rhyming, then the another or next alphabet will be provided to them. Okay. So the first word is shake. So we will write A, or letter A will be given to shake. Next is mistake. Shake, mistake. They are rhyming, so they both will be provided alphabet A. So alphabet A for shake and alphabet A for mistake. Next we have sweep. In the third line, the last word is sweep. Shake, mistake, they are rhyming, but sweep is not rhyming with shake or mistake. So another alphabet will be provided, that is B. Fourth line, of easy wind and downy flake. Shake, mistake, flake, they are rhyming with each other. So the words that are rhyming will be provided the same alphabet. So flake will be provided alphabet A. So the rhyme scheme will be A, B, A. So I hope that the first question is clear to everybody. Now let's move to the second question. So the second stanza is, the sun was shining on the sea, shining with all his might. I am repeating it. So let's come to the second stanza. So the second stanza is, the sun was shining on the sea, shining with all his might. He did his very best to make the billows smooth and bright. And this was odd because it was the middle of the night. So in the first sentence, the last word is sun. Sorry. So in the first sentence, the last word is C. So C will be provided alphabet A. In the second line, the last word is might. C and might, they are not rhyming, so might will be provided alphabet B. Third line, the last word is make. C, might, make, not rhyming at all. So make will be provided. It will be given the next alphabet, that is C. Fourth line, the last word is bright. C, bright, not rhyming. Might, bright. Might and bright are rhyming. So I gave B alphabet to might. So similarly, bright will also be given B. Fifth line, was. Was, it is not rhyming with any of the above words. So it will be given alphabet D. And the last line, so in the last line, the last word is night. So night is rhyming with might and bright. So might and bright were given alphabet B. So night will also be given alphabet B. So the rhyme scheme of the second stanza will be A, B, C, B, D, B. So I hope that the rhyme scheme is clear to everyone. You can easily identify the rhyme scheme of the stanzas or the poem. So students, question number A is clear to everybody. Now we'll move to question number B. So question number B says, explain these lines in your own words. So there are some lines given and you have to explain those lines in your own words. See, I have already explained you the poem, and from that you can easily solve this. You can easily complete this question. So I am giving you this question as homework, and I expect that you will definitely complete this question. So I hope that the explanation of the poem as well as the explanation of exercises are clear to everyone, and this explanation will prove helpful for you people. So with this, thank you so much, stay safe, and I'll meet you again in the next video with the next chapter. Thank you.